compact. There's not a lot of people, so it feels more homey and yeah, more cohesive.
I think just the environment in general. I love the art. I love everything that's kind of comforting about it. And like I said, it's really nice to come somewhere that you just feel safe. You feel safe leaving, you feel safe coming. It's just a really nice environment.
It's like an intimate setting. I can find my professors when I want to. There's this awesome guy named Nick. He's just always there. He's like on the ball, like easily accessible.
It's been wonderful. For example, everyone's been supportive of me. When I was trying to get into a practicum, all the teachers reached out to me, and I just thought that was a wonderful thing. I didn't even have to reach out to them. They all reached out to me. It just blew my mind.
I like the small city feel, so everyone feels like they know each other. You know, the local shops are all so wonderful and so friendly, and it's just such a nice experience exploring the town and really showing what, you know, Hammonton has to offer.
We're here for you.
Take a class.
Visit our art galleries.
Use the computer lab.
Study in some of our quiet spaces.
Meet with your clubs and organizations.
Or attend a free workshop.
There's always room for you at Kramer Hall.
what I love about Hammonton the most is the people that live here.
The people are fantastic.
La calidad de las personas.
The way the community gets together.
It seemed like a sense of community.
Yeah, strong sense of community.
possible. Good evening, Hammonton. We're going to resume our November 27th meeting. We were in executive session starting at 6. It's now about 7:07. Roll call, please. I think we have two members that are going to join us in about 2 seconds. They were here for close. They ran out for a second. Roll call, Frank.
Councilperson Bajoni. Here. Gribben.
Here.
Oliva is present, just coming in the door now. R. Rodeo.
Here.
S. Rodeo.
Here.
Willerman is also present, walking in the door now. Mayor DiDonato.
Here.
Present also Mike Malinsky, Town Solicitor, Robert Batiste, Public Works Manager, and Mark Herman of ARH, Town Engineer. Notice of the meeting has been posted and given to official newspapers. Please familiarize yourself with the fire exits to right and rear of council chambers, and please do not proceed beyond the front benches without invitation from the mayor to do so. Also, each person who wishes to address council will be allotted 5 minutes.
Rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. First opportunity for public to be heard on action items. Public to be heard on action items only. Seeing no one, will close the first public portion. I'd accept the motion to approve the regular minutes from 10:30 and executive of the same day, 10:30-23. Motion, council.
I was late.
Woolerman first.
Second.
Second, R. Rodeo. All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're going to dispense with the regular order of business. We have a presentation from Dr. Ray Fierro regarding the Hammonton water utility. Doctor, do we have a mic for the doctor? Do we have a handheld or will...
I think we need the microphone.
Well,
They won't hear you on TV.
Yeah, just so everybody can hear you at home.
Yeah, you want to
Oh,
see
I think Frank's finding a handheld.
I've got to hit the projector, so.
Okay. That works.
That works too.
That actually might work.
Perfect. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I hope this will be helpful to all of you. In speaking with Councilman Fergione, he asked me to take a look at your water supply system and discuss aspects of it, particularly with regard to the safety and its... Perfect, thank you. Is that on?
Yep.
Good, okay. Put this back. Particularly with regard to safety issues and whether it's satisfying the requirements for potable water in the state of New Jersey. So I put together several slides here for you. Again, as I just mentioned, the objective is to make sure the Town of Hammonton's drinking water supply is safe for the businesses and the residents within the municipality, safe for human consumption. So first, let me just give you an overview of the facilities. Some of you I know are intimately familiar with that, but others of you may not be. The city's water supply comes from groundwater. You have 5 active groundwater supply wells. Each of those wells has some form of treatment on it to purify the water so that, again, it's safe for human consumption. There are 2 water storage towers within the town. Those provide pressure equalization as well as provide water supply in case of needs for fire and other water needs. And then, of course, you have a distribution piping system throughout the Town of Hammonton that delivers the water to each of you. I brought a poster board here. I don't know that you necessarily need to see this, but you can see the 5 drinking water wells, well 1 and 3, well 4 on the east side of town, well 5 and 7 on the west side of the town. And the 2 storage towers, one is at 4th Street, the 4th Street Tower, and the other is the Lincoln Avenue Tower, which is right adjacent to wells 1 and 3. I'll just run down each of those facilities, those individual facilities. Wells 1 and 3, as I mentioned just previously, are together, adjacent to the Lincoln Avenue Water Tower. Information about any of these facilities is available to the public through the New Jersey Drinking Water Watch program. Well, one is written in that program as WL001004. Well 3 is WL001016. There is a treatment facility at that location. The water that is extracted from the groundwater goes through filters and then through activated carbon columns, and then finally disinfection with chlorination. Well number 4 is off by itself. It also has a treatment facility. The treatment processes that are in that facility provide for radium removal. Air stripper columns are provided to remove organics. And again, there's disinfection via chlorination. At that location, the town also adds a corrosion inhibitor to protect the water lines. Zinc orthophosphate, the most commonly used corrosion inhibitor, is what is used at that location. And then finally have wells 5 and 7 together on the west side of the town. Treatment facility TP003010. And treatment processes there are for air strippers for taste and odor control, radium removal. Radium is naturally occurring in the groundwater in this area. Disinfection, again, via chlorination and the addition of the corrosion inhibitor. So these will remove whatever is naturally occurring in the system. In the case of the granular activated carbon, that's provided to remove any organics that may have entered the system. And finally, the corrosion inhibitor to make sure that the pipelines stay safe. So what I did was I looked at the host of information that's available based on monitoring that the municipality conducts on a regular basis, and I looked at different measures of water quality. The first one I'm putting up here is for pathogenic organisms. Those are organisms that might cause diseases. You can get exposed to pathogenic organisms many ways, just by getting viruses that might exist on the chairs, on the seats, whatever. But yeah, it is possible that there are some pathogenic organisms in water. Probably the greatest advance in water treatment has been disinfection over the centuries where we provided water treatment, and that is to remove pathogenic organisms. And that's why we have chlorination at the waters that are taken up or extracted from the groundwater. The town conducts monthly testing for something called total coliform at 10 different locations throughout the system. Total coliform is a common measure to indicate whether there are pathogenic organisms in a water sample. I reviewed data back to July of 2021, so about 2.5 years of data, and it showed that total coliform is always absent, except on one occasion, October 4th, 2022, where 3 out of the 10 samples tested were positive for total coliform. So those tests indicated the presence of total coliform in those water samples. However, at the same time, testing was conducted for something called E. coli. E. coli is actually a better indicator of contamination, and the E. coli was absent. So customarily, if you do get a positive test for total coliform, you go out and quickly run a repeat test. Oh, I'll also note that there was a free residual of chlorine in the water at all those 3 locations that tested positive. And if you've got chlorine in the water, you really can't have coliform in the water because the chlorine will kill them. So the results were suspect. But anyhow, the town had to go out and repeat sampling for those particular locations, those 3 locations, and that was done 2 days later, on October 6th of 2022. And at each of those 3 locations, 3 samples were taken, so a total of 9 more samples were taken. All 9 samples had total coliform absent. So that indicated to us that the original test results that showed total coliform was some sort of error, perhaps a laboratory error or some contamination of the sample as it was being delivered to the laboratory, something of that sort. In any event, I think we can safely say that there was not an incidence of pathogenic organisms in the water on October 4th, 2022, and that the water is continually safe and has been for as long as the data that I've looked at. So there's no concern about pathogenic organisms in the town of Hammonton's drinking water. And by the way, if the council has any questions along the way, just let me know, and I'm sure we'll give the public an opportunity to ask at the end. Disinfection, as I mentioned, is one of the greatest advances in sanitary engineering over the many, many decades that these practices have been implemented. However, what we've found in recent decades is that when you do disinfect, you have the potential to create some byproducts in the water. And those byproducts are potentially harmful. So now we have regulations that require that monitoring be conducted for disinfection byproducts. The chlorine reacts with the constituents in the water and can produce these harmful byproducts. There are two categories of harmful byproducts. Total trihalomethanes, which is on the left side of this chart, and total haloacetic acids, which is on the right side of the chart. The standard for total trihalomethanes is 80 micrograms per liter. For total haloacetic acids, it's 60 micrograms per liter. I've included testing back to 2021 just to show you what the results are. And if you can quickly scan through that chart, you'll see that the concentrations for THMs and THAA were always well below the drinking water standards of 80 and 60 micrograms per liter, respectively. So town is disinfecting to make sure the water is safe, doesn't have any disease-causing organisms in it, but not overly disinfecting to the point of producing harmful byproducts in amounts that can cause an issue. So again, the system, the water is safe with respect to disinfection byproducts.
It's important to note that if you're looking at those numbers from home, and like you see 248, it's not 248, it's 2.48. If you can't see the decimal points, there are,
yeah.
Zoom in a little bit, you'll see.
Right, you're right, Mayor. I think the maximum under the trihalomethane side is 14.1 compared to the standard of 80, well below it. And on the haloacetic acids, it looks like the max is about 3.58, perhaps.
I think there's a 482.
Oh, 482. There's a 482. Thank you. 482. Again, very much lower than the standard of 60 micrograms per liter. Okay, this is the current vogue contaminant that everybody's talking about these days, PFAS. And what does PFAS stand for? It stands for per and also polyfluoroalkyl substances. And there are 3 individual species of PFAS for which the state of New Jersey has adopted standards. And these are some of the most stringent standards in the country. In fact, many states don't even have standards for PFAS. But New Jersey has standards for perfluorooctane sulfonate, perfluorooctanoic acid, and perfluoroanionic acid. And you can see they're 13, 14, and 13 nanograms per liter. So if you know your chemistry or remember your chemistry, nanograms per liter is 1,000 times less than micrograms per liter, which is 1,000 times less still than milligrams per liter, which is the common measure of constituents in water. So these are extremely, extremely low values for these substances that New Jersey has adopted.
Dr. Ferrer, when did New Jersey adopt those standards?
It's not many years. It's like a couple of years now that's been adopted. Yeah.
Have we always had it, or did they make them more stringent?
No. PFAS, we didn't even know about PFAS, particularly in drinking water, until I'd say the last decade or two. It's been noticed. Yeah.
Testing these small increments has to be challenging, I'd imagine.
Only certain laboratories can do these analyses. Not every laboratory has the capability to do these. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, in fact, until not too long ago, you weren't able to get down to these levels. And that's one of the reasons the standards were not even adopted, because it was senseless.
Are there higher concentrates of PFAS in New Jersey than other states?
You will find PFAS in some locations, for example, where there's been heavy industry that may have created that chemical in their processes. You may have heard about some groundwater contamination issues where PFAS is present. There's an ongoing program now to test all wastewaters throughout the state for PFAS to see how much is coming in and passing through the wastewater systems and being discharged to the environment. So there's quite a bit of work being done right now. We're not sure where it's all going to head, but we know we've got to be very sensitive to it because they are strongly toxic to humans. On the right-hand side, I have sampling results that the town has collected for PFAS. And if you go down the table, you pretty much see every number there has a less than sign, less than 2 nanograms per liter, which is the method detection limit for that. So less than 2 means it's not there. And again, the standards are 13 and 14. There was one sample on January 19th of 2021 at TP 003010 that there was a certain amount detected, 2.85 nanograms per liter. Again, quite a bit lower than the standard. So with regard to PFAS, everything's good in Hammonton's drinking water.
Dr. Ray, can we hold on there one quick second? There's a lot of talk, and I'm sure people have seen it. Federal government's trying to adopt more stringent standards. If I'm correct on my math here, the standards are proposing are 3 and 4, based on the individual PFAS, PFOA, PFNA.
Yeah. Actually, I don't remember what the federal government's been through so many iterations of trying to adopt something for PFAS and hasn't gotten to it yet. And I don't even know what the latest iteration is, the number that they're looking for.
Even if it's 3 or 4 or 5, we're at non-detect or less than 2. So right. In terms of federal standards that don't exist yet, the town's drinking water is covered.
You bet. Yeah, and in fact, most drinking water standards are what we call, there are maximum contaminant levels, MCLs, that are established for most contaminants. And I'll show you some of those a little bit later here. And compliance with maximum contaminant levels is basically determined on a 4-quarter average. So running annual average is what's used to determine compliance. So if you got one sample even above the standard, well, that doesn't mean you probably won't have that same result the next quarter or the quarter after that. So you'd be compliant with those MCLs.
Dr. Wright, could you just briefly discuss the protocol, the quality protocols that are used by the state in terms of testing and to ensure the potability of our water and the safety of our water, and how that is played out over the course of a year, for example?
Yeah, so this list that I'm going through are prescribed as required as part of your permit to operate the system. You'll see some more parameters that we get to, but you're required to do certain sampling, some at the point where the water is produced. Some sampling is required out in the distribution system for different parameters. So these are regularly required and have to be reported regularly. And things like PFAS, I think it's it's quarterly sampling that's required for PFAS.
And those samples are taken by an independent lab, and there's a chain of custody through the process, so that they're really never handled by the town or anybody else. They are, through that process, all the way through by the lab, and the results are released to the town and to the state.
Yeah, and some of these require what we call clean techniques for sampling and analysis. The laboratories have to be certified for the individual analysis that we're talking about here. And like I said, for PFAS, not every lab has that capability or that certification to do those analyses. Something like lead and copper, many facilities will be certified to do that. So these laboratories have to go through rigorous evaluations on an annual basis, pass tests. They get blind samples from DEP to make sure that they have the capability to do the things accurately. So there's a whole process in laboratory certification and in sampling procedures that's required.
There's no cooking the books on our end as far as trying to influence what the outcome of those samples are, right?
I don't see how you could. I don't see how you could do that.
Actually, we took one step further. We have an outside testing agency who handles our testing. They go to the sites and draw the water. The samples, the results are sent to the DEP. We don't get them for 24 or 48 hours after the DEP receives them. So we don't see anything until the DEP sees it first.
And as I mentioned, it all is reported on the Drinking Water Watch, the website. I could get it to you if anybody's interested, if you can't find it yourself, but just Google Drinking Water Watch, New Jersey, and it'll bring you right to the location. And the data for Hammonton, as well as any other drinking water purveyor, will be there and available for public viewing. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, on a couple of wells, you provide treatment to remove radium. The radium is naturally occurring. It exists in the rocks, and as the water passes over the rocks, it will take some of that radium into the water. So you do provide treatment to remove radium at 2 of the locations. And that was at, let's see, radium is at, yeah, these two locations, TP 2007, which is for well number 4, and TP 3010, which has wells number 5 and 7. Wells 1 and 3, that water does not require radium removal, but I'll show you some data for those 2 wells also. But again, I put up here the standards for radiologicals. There's a radium standard of 5 picocuries per liter. And for gross alpha substances, the standard is 15 picocuries per liter. For uranium, the standard is 30 micrograms per liter. And if you just look down the chart, you can see the results. Under radium at 2007, they're all indicated, many of them are indicated as 1.5. I suspect it's a less than 1.5, but that's how it was recorded in the Drinking Water Watch. There is one result of 4.93, which is close to the standard of 5, but it's still within and under that standard. On the gross alpha substances, less than 3, pretty much for all the results, except for that one on October 4th of 22, well below the standard of 15. At 3010, again, you could look at the numbers again for yourself, but they're all within and under the required standard for drinking water. So these 2 locations, which have treatment to remove radium, are meeting the standards. This location is for wells 1 and 3. It has not required radium removal. So these samples are taken without any treatment for radium removal, and you can see that they're in compliance with the standards. So if for some reason the geology results in higher radium for wells 4, 5, and 7 than it does for wells 1 and 3. That's just the way. That's just the nature of it. But again, the system has been in compliance for the data that are reported. Volatile organic compounds. So these are typically synthetic substances that may occur due to human activities. Things like benzene, toluene, you've probably heard about these. You see them wherever there is perhaps gasoline contamination, or sometimes you get them just because of asphalt. You'll wind up with benzene and toluene. And then other synthetic solvents like trichloroethylene and tetrachloroethylene, vinyl chloride, which is a breakdown product of tetrachloroethylene and trichloroethylene, and so on. Anyhow, the town tests for this suite of VOCs on a regular basis. And I looked at all the test results, and all the results were non-detect. That means nothing was detected for all those volatile organics, except for these few instances. At 1003, which is wells 1 and 3, ethyl benzene was detected at 1.03 micrograms per liter. The drinking water standard is 700. Xylenes were detected anywhere from 2 to 11. The standard is 1,000. Tetrachloroethylene was detected one time at 0.58, and the standard is 1. Similarly, at 2007 and 3010, tetrachloroethylene was detected, and again, the numbers are below the drinking water standard. So although there's occasionally some detections of these volatile organics, and only these few were detected, those detections were below the drinking water standard, and again, this is a one-time only. Typically, you're looking at a 12-month average in terms of compliance with the drinking water standard.
But at that location, we have treatment that would take care of the volatile.
That's correct. At wells 1 and 3, at 1003, you have granular activated carbon. At well 4, which is 2007, you have a VOC stripper, an air stripper.
Right.
And you can remove, VOCs are just that, they're volatile. What does that mean? They tend to escape. You know, they become gases easily. So there are two primary ways to remove volatile organics from water. One is to blow it out with an aeration, an air stripper. And you can do that by blowing air through or letting it trickle through columns. And the second way to do it is to pass the water over an activated carbon bed. And then those chemicals are absorbed onto the carbon and removed from the water in that way.
Can you briefly give your opinion as to the efficacy of the treatment that, or the remediation work that was done adjacent to wells 1 and 3 by the gas company in terms of how it has affected or not affected our water quality?
Yeah. I was involved briefly on behalf of the town in that, in assisting with it some years ago, and my memory's not going to be as good as I would like it to be.
But you can see the results in terms of...
That's what I was going to say. But you can see that whatever has happened there, it's not impacting your drinking water, except maybe for a minor amount of some residual materials that are in the environment. But it's not causing anything to be above the drinking water standards.
And we really don't know if that's being absorbed from another location?
Could be some other source. We don't know exactly what the source is, exactly. Right.
So I guess the bottom line is the efficacy of the remediation effort seems to be working.
Seems to be working. Yep.
Got to use the mic.
He can't hear you when you're talking. Please get your mic closer.
It should also be noted, when South Jersey Gas did the big remediation project adjacent to wells 1 and 3, the testing frequency on those wells is more than it is on our other wells, but it's based on usage. So when we're running wells 1 and 3, we're testing monthly to ensure that the cleanup was proper.
Yep. Good. Yeah, I mean, this is clear evidence that you don't have a significant contamination problem here, as does occur in many places. Lead and copper. These are two, again, popular substances to look at because in some cases you may have lead pipes or lead in solder for the pipes. Copper, you may have copper pipes, and those metals leach out of the pipes and the solder and the joints into the drinking water. So the lead and copper is usually an issue not from the source water, but from the distribution system itself. So the requirements for lead and copper are that samples be taken out in the system, not simply at the point where the water is produced. And the standards for lead and copper are a little bit different. They're what we call action levels. You see where it says lead AL and copper AL? AL stands for action level. And it says that if your lead exceeds 15 micrograms per liter, you need to take certain action. If your copper exceeds 1,300 micrograms per liter, you need to take certain action. So here are some results. These are actually what we call the 90th percentile values. So if you had 100 samples, this would be the 90th highest value out of the 100. Okay? And that's what's used to decide whether you're in compliance with the action level or not. And you can see for lead, the numbers are 3 or less compared to the standard of 15. For copper, the numbers are 600 or less, which compares favorably with the standard of 1,300. So in terms of lead and copper, the system is in compliance. And again, 3 years of data is what I look at.
But we're trying to remediate that problem within the distribution system, and that's why all the good citizens should respond to the multiple requests we made to check to see if there is any galvanized pipe or lead connections within their system. That would be very helpful.
Absolutely. And I would say, I mean, I'd rather be drinking water on a public water system than my own system, because you wouldn't be testing for these things. Whereas the public purveyor must test and report on what is found. So. Nitrate is a long-standing parameter indicating the quality of drinking water. There is a standard of 10 milligrams per liter for nitrate nitrogen. Nitrate is not harmful to most humans, but for infants below the age of 6, it can cause something called methemoglobinemia, which is, you may have heard as blue baby disease. It's because the nitrate combines with hemoglobin and it robs the system of oxygen, and that's why the baby looks blue. So we need to protect against the presence of nitrogen in drinking water to protect infants. The standard, as I said, is 10 milligrams per liter. Here are results for your 3 discharge points, and the max, I believe, is 3.7 out of all those locations, well within the 10 milligram per liter nitrate standard.
That would tend to be a problem that's more prevalent with people that are on private wells than
Big problem if you're on private well. Again, people don't test for this, particularly if you have a septic system and a private well, because the nitrates are generated by the wastewater coming out of the septic system, and the opportunity is there for that to contaminate the groundwater and hence your drinking water.
People with young children really should have their water tested for that if they're on a private well.
Absolutely. A slew of inorganic substances for which the town collects data. I won't go through each one, but they range from antimony down to thallium. Some of them have drinking water standards, some do not, but in most cases you can see the numbers are less than 0.003 milligrams per liter, so less than 0.3 micrograms per liter. Where there are detections and there are standards, you can see that there's been compliance with the drinking water standard. But again, nothing really to worry about here. These are 2 dates at location 1003, which is wells 1 and 3. Again, 2 dates here for, 2 dates. One is for 2007, which is well 4. And 3010, which is wells 5 and 7. Again, all in compliance, so there's no issues about these ancillary organics that naturally occur in groundwater. And finally, secondary standards. They're really not standards, they're more guidelines. They're for what we call the welfare, not for health, but for welfare. Because they may cause aesthetic or taste and odor issues. For example, if your water is high in iron, you might get some staining on your plumbing fixtures, that sort of thing. So there's a slew of parameters for which there are secondary standards. These are not enforceable, they're pretty much guidelines. And for the most part, the town's drinking water is in compliance with those secondary standards. There are a couple that are above the standard. Let's see. So aluminum, for example, in July of 2023 was slightly above the standard of 0.2. Again, the problem with the aluminum, if the aluminum was really high, the water might be a little cloudy. You might, again, have some complications with staining on fixtures, that sort of thing. None of these are issues. Iron, iron, there's a 0.8 with a secondary standard of 0.3. The second test for iron was less than 0.04, so it will vary from time to time. But again, none of these are anything that to be worried about. This is at 2007. You'd see the same results, basically, pretty much all in compliance with the standards. And where there are exceedances, they're slightly above the standard, and again, they're guidelines. Finally, 3010, similar situation. Sampling is also done out in the distribution for iron and manganese. 1 sample per year is taken for iron and manganese, and these are the results, and again, they're in compliance with the standards. So again, no concern. Iron and aluminum have on occasion been slightly above the secondary standards, but nothing to worry about. And that's the last set of parameters that I looked at, but in summary, I reviewed multiple locations for monitoring throughout the system over several years. The only real aberration was that total coliform sample, which with subsequent sampling was proved to be a false positive. The treatment systems at the 3 locations are working fine, seem to be providing a high quality of water. So I think everything here is safe to drink. I'd have a glass of water right now if there was one available. So, any questions? I'd be pleased to answer.
Any questions from council, please, for Dr. Ray? Dr. Ray, thank you for your time tonight.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please enjoy your night and enjoy your holiday coming up.
I will, and you too.
Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Thank you, Dr. Ray.
All right, while we're on the dispense of regular order of business, wait for Frank, I guess. We have Resolution 156-2023, Capital Budget Amendment. This is basically to have the water tower painted at the school, design Lakeview Gardens water line and water tank storage at while we're painting the tower when we take it offline. It's a total of $2,235,000. Could I get a motion from council for as read, please?
Motion, Mayor.
For Joni first.
Second.
Second, Rodeo. Discussion.
Mayor, we'll finalize the contract or the contractor in December for the water tank painting, but this gets us going.
All right. Additional discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Prigioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Bar Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried. We have to have a public hearing for ordinance 020-2023, setting salaries of members of the police department. Could I get a motion to open up the public for the public to be heard?
So moved.
Gribbin first.
Second, Mayor.
Oliva second. We're now open to the public, if anybody would like to be heard. Seeing no one, I'd accept the motion to close the public portion, adopt and publish.
So moved.
Gribbin.
Second, Mayor.
Oliva. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Prigioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Bar Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried. Public hearing on ordinance 021-2023, setting salaries of utility department. Can I get a motion to open up to the public, please?
Motion, Mayor.
For Joni first.
Second.
Ed Woolerman second. Discussion. We're now open to the public, if the public would like to be heard. Seeing no one, I accept the motion to close the public portion, adopt and publish.
Motion, Mayor.
For Joni, Woolerman, discussion from council. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Prigioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Bar Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried. Public hearing on bond ordinance 020-2023, various improvements to the airport. Can I get a motion to open up to the public, please?
Motion, Mayor.
Rodeo first.
Second.
Second, Woolerman. We're now open to the public, if anybody would like to be heard. Seeing no one, I accept the motion to close the public portion, adopt and publish.
Motion, Mayor.
Rodeo first.
Second.
S. Rodeo first, R. Rodeo second.
This is basically the grants that we got for the taxiway improvements out of the airport.
Right, which will be done in the spring at over 600,000. It was 558, I believe, right, Frank?
Correct, 558, 819 in grants.
Right, so that there is improvements going to the airport and on different roads this year.
Additional discussion from council. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Prigioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried. Can Can I get a motion to open up for a public hearing on ordinance 023-2023 vacating Hillman Avenue? I was going to say Hitman Avenue. Motion from council, please, to open the public.
Motion, Mayor.
I live a first.
Second.
Second, Woolerman. We're now open to the public. If anybody would like to be heard on vacation of Hillman Avenue. Hillman Avenue, to give everybody a reference point, is, where is Hillman Avenue located? Bobby, could you help me out? Where's Hillman Avenue?
Behind us.
Where is it, Bob?
Where is it, he said?
Yeah.
It's basically behind the one Lakeview Gardens, or was it Lakeview Hotel, not hotel, the repair.
Okay.
Behind that, probably another 600 feet or so behind that.
Okay. All right.
Actually, the town vacated a portion of that some years ago, and they left a couple open because there were some landlocked pieces of ground. This corrects that.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody from the public like to be heard? I accept the motion to close the public portion, adopt and publish.
I'll make that motion.
Our rodeo.
Second, Mayor.
Oliva, second. Discussion from council. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Olivia?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman and Mayor DiBenado.
Yes, motion carried. We'll jump into committee reports. Deputy Mayor Gribbin, admin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given the League of Municipalities annual conference earlier this month, as well as the holidays, the administration committee did not formally meet in November. We will be scheduling a meeting for early December, and I'll report back with any action items at our next council meeting. In terms of announcements, tax sale notices will go out tomorrow morning. I'd also like to thank the Hammonton Tri-Vets for organizing and holding the annual Veterans Day ceremony at the Hammonton Middle School on November 11th. I was able to take an earlier flight and to be there to give an address on behalf of Mayor and Council. Also made sure to bring my daughters, and it's always an honor to give that address, and I thank the Mayor for allowing me to do that. I would like to congratulate our Hammonton Hawks varsity football team for winning the championship game this past Saturday against Ventnor. That makes back-to-back championships for our varsity boys, and we look forward to honoring the team at the December council meeting. I hope to see a lot of our neighbors at the town tree lighting ceremony on Saturday. That will conclude my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Gribbin. And it's also important to note that the Pee Wee and JV made it to the championship game, right?
All three were playing for the championship.
So you had 3 teams going for championships. Yeah. And the two losers, unfortunately, were heartbreak games, right?
Yes.
I think Mr. Herman was a coach there.
And our Pee Wee team
undefeated
lost by 6-0. And a long, broken play. And just, we played Epstein twice before in the year. Both games were 0-0 ties. We just could not back and forth, and it just took a broken play to end it, and it was a great season. They didn't lose a game all year. They just the 2 ties, and JV as well. It was a 14-7 game, very close, nail biter at the end. You know, it's bittersweet. You know?
It'll heal in time, Mark.
Congratulations to all the players and the cheerleaders for working so hard and having another great season. We'll jump over to business and industry. Councilman Woolerman.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll start with the news from Main Street. The Executive Director, Micah McCullough, reports that the Hammonton Revitalization Economic Vitality Committee is planning a coffee and networking event for downtown business owners on Wednesday, December 12th from 7:30 to 9 a.m. at Handmade. That's at 300 12th Street. Contact the Main Street office for registration information. That number is 609-567-9014. She also reports that several new and relocating businesses are in the works for early 2024, including Jersey Video Game, which is already relocated to 122 Bellevue Avenue. In other business, town officials met for a second informal meeting on November 22nd with representatives from RCM Properties XX1, that's in Roman numerals, LLC. They are owners of the property on the White Horse Pike and Basin Road, generally situated across from Basin Road from Atlantic Care's property facility. This area is zoned for Gateway Boulevard 2, or Gateway 2 as it's known for short. RCM is proposing the construction of a 14,500 square foot strip commercial building fronting on the White Horse Pike, and as well as a warehouse facility of some 160,000 square feet fronting along Basin Road. The approximate dimension of this structure is 602 feet by 225. Certain types of retail uses are permitted within the GW2 zoning district. The warehouse use is not permitted, and RCM will be requiring a D1 variance use to permit from the town along with a number of other variances if they want to proceed forward. Although I am not aware of anything that has been formally scheduled for the Joint Land Use Board at the moment, I expect that an application for the variances required will likely occur in the early part of next year. I believe they're going to split the variances from the site plan approval that's required, and when they do that, they will go to the Pinelands as a second step. Unless there's any other questions, that really concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Councilman Woolerman. We'll jump over to Quality of Life. Councilman Oliva.
Thank you very much, Mayor. A few things for Quality of Life Committee. First, from the Planning Board, the master plan re-examination that has been undergoing over the course of the last number of years will be made available to the members of our community this week. This will be made available on the town's website. There'll be a link on the town's website, and a series of discussions and public hearings will be held in the very near future, and the schedule of those meetings will be outlined at the Planning Board's upcoming meeting on December 6th. So please check the town's website for updated information, or attend the meeting on 12/6 for any additional information, but the master plan document will be made available on the website, so everybody will be able to see it shortly, soon this week. Also, Mayor, from our council meeting in September, we created a committee to address homelessness in Hammonton, which we've worked to address not just homelessness, but also addiction and mental health as well. Councilwoman Rodeo and I are on that committee, as are a number of members in the community. I just wanted to give a brief update because the committee has met a number of times since its inception in the end of September, early October. We've met every 2 weeks, minus this past week. The committee is working on a case-by-case basis to determine resources that may be available to assist any members of our community who need the help. I'd like to thank the committee, and I very much appreciate everything that the committee members have given, from assistance to guidance to just their general support, as well as the chief and his team for working with us as well. And we'll continue to work with the chief and other service organizations to assist members of our community the best that we can. So just want to give everybody a heads up that group continues to meet, and I'm very appreciative of everybody's time and attention to that. Last couple of things I have are a series of events. Deputy Mayor Gribben discussed that the tree lighting and the mistletoe mart will be this upcoming Saturday, December 2nd. That starts at 6 p.m. for festivities, but the tree is lit at 7 p.m. So if you want to see whoever the host is, go through and talk and do some stuff, you can get there for 6. But if they're boring to you, you could get there around 7 o'clock and just watch the tree be lit. Now, Deputy Mayor Gribben does a wonderful job every year, so I will certainly be there at 6 o'clock. The Firemen's Parade will also be the following Saturday. That is December 9th at 7 p.m. December's 3rd Thursday, which is holiday themed Jingle, Mingle, and Kringle, is December 21st. That always starts around 5 p.m. And then finally, as we close out December, the New Year's Eve Bash, which is December 31st, and that will be both in person and televised. And I should also say that the Fireman's Parade will also be televised. So if you can get out and see it on Bellevue, that's great, but if not, it will also be televised. It will be on Access Hammonton for anyone who's not able to get out to see the parade. And before I close, tonight is my son Carmen's 4th birthday. So I know that he is probably up on a lot of sugar and ice cream right now, and he said he was going to watch the council meeting so he could see Dad. So, buddy, I love you. Happy 4th birthday, and I will be home very soon and can't wait to play. He got a new drum set, so that's going to be keeping us awake for quite a while, but he loves it, loves music. So happy birthday, buddy. Mayor, that completes my report for quality of life, and without any questions, we'll move it along.
Thank you very much. Happy birthday, Carmen.
There you go.
We'll jump over to education and Councilwoman Rodeo.
Thank you, Mayor. The school board met on November the 2nd. Applications for school choice are due by December 1st, and the lottery date has been set for the 12th of December, and that's at 2:45, and it'll be located in the media center at the high school. Secondly, the superintendent search is ongoing. I believe they're sending out, there will be a survey online for that. Winter sports are underway. And lastly, the school board awarded a contract to Wolfington Body Company to purchase 2 more school buses. One's a standard and one is a wheelchair accessible. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. We'll jump over to Public Works and Transportation, Councilman Rodeo.
Thank you, Mayor. As we have a very short report tonight, we have no action items as far as on the Public Works side as with ARH, but what I'll do is I'll reserve some of my time when Mr. Batiste gives his report, and I may have a couple comments at that time. But other than that, everyone have a very, like I said, everyone, it's a very short report, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilman Rodeo. We'll jump over to Water and Sewer, Councilman Fagioni.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I just wanted to put a bow on what we talked about this evening real quick, if I could. I didn't bring it up before. I thought tonight was a good night for it. When the whole notice was issued, the public notice back this winter, that was based on a letter we received from the DEP. We were working with Southern Enforcement, who's a separate entity of the DEP, to really explain to them that the testing we thought was an error, although we couldn't prove it was an error. So while we were working with Southern Enforcement, the letter from the DEP went out, which facilitated us to send the letter to the residents. In the meantime, Southern Enforcement spoke with the main division of DEP and agreed we were compliant. We received a letter of compliance dated before the public notice went out, but after we sent it. So just to put a bow on all that. So that's that. Solves that, done. Secondly,
I just want to say, is if I'm a resident, you confused the hell out of me.
I know, but I wanted to bring it up.
All you had to say was, we have documents that the water is healthy and safe in the town of Hammonton.
Well, that's how I say things. So, there you go. All right, so.
And then when you and Mr. Willerman were getting into tall weeds, I was like, whoa, this is blowing me away. This is blowing everybody away.
So, 2 other things. Regarding the sewer plant, the UV system is complete. We did the work other than the electrical work in-house. We saved about $160,000 doing it ourselves. Took a couple months, but we got the project done, as opposed to contracting it all out. Lastly, the centrifuge.
When's it going live?
That's for the UV system.
Oh, UV.
UV system is live, tested, done.
Okay.
The centrifuge, we were waiting on the conveyor to come in. It has come in. They're pulling the filter press out in the next couple of weeks, one of the 2 filter presses. They're going to assemble the conveyor and then finalize the construction of the centrifuge. So I would think, depending on the contractor availability, the contractor's coming from the co-op, we joined from the Passaic, River Valley. I would think by January, February, this thing's done. In the books, done. That's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, and just one little side comment.
Yes.
I appreciate your interjection there, but tonight was really an effort to try to address a number of articles that were written and editorials that were written about the quality of our water. And and its safety. And I'm sorry that it does get into the tall weeds with it because it's science and it's a lot of technical information. But the purpose is try to reassure the residents that there is a system in place to make sure that that is being looked at all the time. And if that there is issues that arise, it's being responded to. And I know Dr. Ray is an excellent person to have on board to help provide guidance in that effort, but that is all we could have had it a couple of months ago. It probably would have been more timely, but that was all we were trying to accomplish with that tonight.
That's why my grandmother used to tell me, believe none of what you hear and read and half of what you see.
Well, that's the reason why they invented science.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Law and Order, Chief, come on up.
Well, we have a festive holiday approaching us. We have a lot of events, as council persons pointed out. We also have a Winterfest that Rotary is going to be putting on the 2nd and 3rd, so we can start our enjoyment early on at 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. They're going to be doing a craft show, so it's very family-oriented. There'll be things for kids to do. Santa is even supposed to be there early on for those who can't stay up too late. And then we will have our festival that we're going to have downtown on Central Avenue with the Mistletoe Mart and the tree lighting. There are going to be streets that are going to have no parking or streets that are going to be closed off. So we ask that those in and around our town please heed those signs so we don't have to tow your vehicle. It's not a very festive thing to have to go get your vehicle out of impound. And also that evening, I believe there is going to be carriage rides, so Schoolhouse Lane will be closed to motor vehicle traffic. And we will have officers posted out there to guide and direct people to make sure that no one makes a mistake driving the wrong way or driving into a closed roadway. We also have coming up on the 5th, we are going to have a child safety seat inspection. That is going to be on Tuesday, December the 5th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Fire Company number 2. We have child safety seat technicians that are trained in our police department. They'll be on hand to inspect the current seats that you do have to make sure that they are up to date, that they haven't been recalled, to make sure that they are properly installed. Also, if you have a new seat and don't know how to install it, they are trained to do that and will be happy to install it in your vehicle, or if you're a grandparent for your grandchild, putting it in the back of your car. And then we'll make sure that the child safety seat is the appropriate size for and position for the child that you're putting in that safety seat. So we have that coming up on the 5th. We also have, going on through this month, our food collection that we're doing to help out St. Vincent de Paul Food Bank. We'll be out on Thursday evenings at ShopRite from 5 to 8. And also 24 hours a day, you can drop off non-perishable goods in our police foyer there. We're happy to collect them and bring them to the food bank. It is great for those who can help out in our community, for those who are less fortunate in making their food needs. I had a great time out there the week before Thanksgiving. I got to go out there and enjoy. Brought Storm out there too. So she helped me collect 3 carts full. It was her, not me. Everybody wanted to come see her. And we also have coming up, besides that, we have our Fireman's Christmas Parade. One of the things that I would like to mention about the Fireman's Christmas Parade, first off, it's wonderful that those volunteers get together to help our community, to keep our community safe and to also keep it festive. But I would also like our residents and those visiting to make sure that they get to where they need to go as we close the roadways prior to the parade, and we don't want people driving on closed roadways. The firemen that are out there helping us, because it is a very expansive area that we are closing off. They are volunteers out there helping to make sure the roads are closed. Please listen to them. Do not give them a hard time. Please just drive where you have to go. If you're going to a party that might be on the route that is going to be closed, get there prior to the road being shut down. Other than that, we have an unfortunate holiday season. Within the past week, we had 8 DWIs. Conveniently, we have a drive sober or get pulled over grant funding that is going on from December 1st to January 1st. We have secured about $4,000 worth of grant funded overtime to help to make sure that our streets and roadways are safe for people to be traveling during the holidays. So again, reminder, if you're going to have a couple drinks, please have somebody drive you, call an Uber, or call a taxi, because it's not worth it. It's not worth losing your license, and it's not worth someone having a very unfortunate accident and maybe losing someone's life. And I have a couple action items that are on the clerk's report. As we're talking with the school, we're looking to pick up our 4th retired SRO to bring back retired officers so that we have our full accompaniment of our school security, keeping everybody safe in our public school system, and a couple things to help bolster our staffing and bring us up to where we need to be officer-wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. All right, with that, we'll jump over to Mr. Herman in the engineer's report.
Thank you, Mayor. There are actually 2 action items that were added after we submitted the report to Mr. Zuber. Make this closer. That I'm going to bring up for consideration by council. First pertains to the work that the town's doing for the painting and repairs to the 4th Street water tower. Mr. Fragioni asked us to prepare a proposal to design a temporary pressurized water tank system for that area. So if and when that gets taken offline during peak times, there's something that can provide the appropriate pressure to the town. We prepared a proposal and submitted it earlier. Actually, the cost is not to exceed $11,400, and that's to perform the design and prepare a specification that can be used for a contractor to do the work. So that's been submitted to Mr. Fragioni and the committee for your consideration.
Okay, can we get a motion for as read, $11,400 for temporary water storage when we take the water tower offline?
Mayor, I'll make that motion subject to contingent to funding.
Fragioni first.
Second.
Woolerman second. It's very important to note that the reason we're doing this temporary storage is to keep the water pressure up. It would be borderline at best if we do not do this, right?
Yes.
And God forbid there was, for safety, God forbid a fire,
Yes.
and they need water quickly. But, Councilman, if you want to...
No, you said it all. That's it. This gives us the ability to provide, to try to keep the pressure as stable as we can while the tank is offline on 4th Street. And if this thing gets delayed and goes into the spring, at least we have an alternative to keep, proper pressure in the system.
So we have a first and Fragioni, a second, and Woolerman. Additional discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fragioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
And Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. And the second request in front of committee to the council is pertaining to the Lakeview Gardens water main design project. It's been a few months since we submitted a proposal to design a new water main, hydrants, service laterals. It's about a little more than a mile of pipe throughout that development. Our cost to do the surveying, the construction documents, and the permitting, which it'll need permitting through the state, was $75,000, and that's included in the bond ordinance that was first read earlier. So I would request authorization pending availability of funding. Okay. Motion from council, please.
I'll make that motion.
Fragioni first.
Second, Mayor.
Second, Oliva. All right. This is for design in addition to the water system for piping through the Cypress Court section, that Lakeview Garden section where they had some wells that had, earlier was discussed, PFAS. And they exceed the limits. Am I correct?
You're correct, Mayor. What the plan would be is we get it designed, work with the state to see what funding is available to take those, I believe it's 54 homes, off private wells and get them onto our public water system. This will get the design going, and PFAS is a hot topic, and as the mayor said, we had pretty high hits of PFAS in private wells that were wells belonging to individual residents in that area that we're looking to design and get squared away here.
What's the time frame for design and possibly going out to bid? What do you think? We'd go out there and survey it first. I would think early
early spring, I would think. By the time we get there, probably survey the rest of the year, get our mapping going. I'd look to get to the state end of January, maybe conservatively, get it to the state for their approval.
So this will be something that, God willing, will get installed in '25.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the DEP, we're at their mercy with the review, but I think that's very I think it's optimistic, yeah, for sure.
I would say that's a good goal. I would also add that we heard Dr. Ray's report tonight. This is a situation that occurs from what we have seen primarily in wells that are individually owned and more shallow than the wells that we're drawing water from in the deeper aquifers. So if you're on a private well, we encourage you to continue to keep your, those tests that the town has offered, if you haven't done that already. But to distinguish the fact that the problem is primarily in more shallow wells.
How many homes will this new water line service?
There's 54 out there total. We're going to have a public meeting with all the residents in the area probably, spring of 2024. The issue we're going to face here is we don't have a mechanism to say you must hook up to water. We do for sewer, we don't for water. So we're going to need to, number one, square that up and make sure everyone's going to participate. Because if we're going to spend in excess of $1 million, and if we don't have proper participation here, this is going to get, that's the next thing we need to nail down here. We don't know for sure if the state's going to kick in or not kick in on this. We may be going at it alone. I think it's the right decision. I think offering them water is the right way to go and getting them off private wells. But we got to get all the residents out there to buy in. Otherwise, we're spending an awful lot of money, and maybe they'll hook up a few customers. That's not, it's not a good source of funds. But this gets us a step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Okay. It also helps. I think we're tying in. There's a dead end on, I guess, A Street. There's a dead end there. We're tying in where Moss Mill and I think it's 8th, right? There's a dead end there that we're tying in, so we're going to have it'll be all looped in real nice as well. So that's all part of the project.
All right.
The design work, it's all pipe work, correct?
There's
no other road reconstruction or anything in conjunction with it. The design is just pipe work.
It'll depend on where we end up putting the main. I think on some of the roads, the back of sidewalk is right against the right-of-way, I believe. So we have to talk about where we want to put it. The main, whether it's in the road or under the sidewalk, or if we can fit it in the grass strip. But there will be some hard surfaces to be restored as part of the project. Yeah.
Okay.
Ideally, as Mr. Herman said, we're trying to put as much of this as we can between curb and sidewalk.
Right.
Those roads out there have been paved a couple of years, so we don't want to go tear the whole place apart if we could avoid it. We're going to have to see what we can and can't get away with design-wise.
Okay. But of course, keeping the cost down is definitely a goal, and tearing the road up is going to be expensive, so we don't want to do that.
So we have a first in Forgione and a second in Liva. We have discussion. Any additional discussion?
I would say that in the short term, I think we should really concentrate on getting Cypress Court done. That's where we seem to have the highest frequency of hits, and I think that will be most cost effective to get those homes on public water as soon as possible.
I agree.
Additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilperson Forgione?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you. That's all I have as far as action items go. Unless you have any questions for me, any other projects that are outstanding? I know I can briefly state we did respond. I did see the article about the lake survey we did. The Pinelands did issue a letter, and we immediately responded. We responded before the holiday. So as far as getting the lake sprayed, we'll continue to pressure them to get some feedback, try and get that moving. But we did respond to their comments. Hopefully we get a response soon so we can move forward with that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Solicitor, do you have anything for the good of the order?
I have nothing to report this evening. I will say happy birthday, Carmen. Hope you have a great 4th birthday.
So you just brought your good looks and your sterling personality. Thank you very much, Michael. Just twisted it for you. Mr. Batiste, Public Works Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple updates and one action. The NJDOT utility agreement, I think we had passed a couple last month related to Route 30 and 54. There's another section of Route 30 that the NJDOT just bid. That's from Weymouth Road to Pleasant Mills Road. And basically, they're asking the town to authorize the superintendent to sign the agreement on behalf of the town, that should something occur, that something has to be relocated from a water standpoint, that the town would be able to get reimbursed for that. And that'll come up later on in the meeting, right?
Yeah, I have a resolution.
Second one is the 2023 resurfacing program. Arawak has completed basically the roadways. The striping is done, the seeding, the driveways are completed. I think this Thursday they're supposed to be out to place the pavement reflectors in the areas where we have the stop bars and stripes. Myrtle Street, Route 206 improvement. We took bids on 1121. Unfortunately, they came in excess of the amount that was allocated for that particular funding. So we're asking for two actions from the Mayor and Council tonight. One, to reject the bid. We only had one bid submitted, that was by Arawak, so reject that particular bid and authorize our office with the help of ARH to modify the specifications and advertise for rebid. Actually, the rebid is advertised, it'll appear in this Wednesday's Gazette, and we're going to receive bids on 12/13 of this December at 11 o'clock. And what we did is we broke the project up into a base bid that should come underneath the money allocated, and then an alternate bid for some other options. But it should get us from Route 206 just past the bend. If you're coming from 206 heading on Myrtle Street, heading towards the turf farm, once there's a bend in the roadway, just past that bend would be the base bid, and then the secondary bid or the alternate bid.
Bid based on the existing specification before the modification?
That's Resolution 157.
Okay. That's right.
Okay, and this will still enable us to get Myrtle Street done in the spring. Either way, it was going to be a spring project because of the weather. It's getting cold very quickly.
Yeah, once you get the dampness in the ground, it's hard to get out this time of year.
So you need a motion there, Mayor?
No, it's in the resolution.
Well, when Mr. Batiste is done, we'll go do the resolution.
Next resolution.
But that would be authorization to, one, reject the bids from Arawak, the one bid that we received, and authorization to proceed to receive bids.
All right, we want to take that now. 157. Reject the bids for Myrtle Street.
Motion, Mayor.
Rodeo first.
Second, Mayor.
Second for Joni. Discussion, any additional discussion?
Yeah, 157, reject bids for Myrtle Street. The first whereas says Town of Hammonton received bids for Boyer Avenue pump station, so we just got to clean up that language.
That's my bad.
It's for Myrtle Street.
Same Myrtle Street.
Additional discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Pajoni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
And Mayor DiDonato.
Motion carried. Do we want a resolution to go out to bid, or are we fine with that? You're good?
Authorization to advertise for bid and receive bids on the 13th.
An authorization to
And,
bid.
with the
Can I get a-
assistance from ARH.
Can I get a first from, first?
Motion, Mayor.
Rodeo first, second.
Second.
Woolerman, authorizing bids for Myrtle Street. Additional discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you. The public works schedule for December would be bulky waste would be the first week. In December, it would be 12/4 through 12/8. The following week, the second full week of December would be curbside pickup of brush, 12/11 through 12/15. County recycling, would occur 3 times. Actually, this week is county recycling. Then it would be 12/11 through the 16th, through the 15th, excuse me. And then the last week in December, which would be the 26th, not the 25th, through the 29th. And for trash pickup for Christmas Day, the 25th, that'll occur the next day, the 26th, on Tuesday. So Monday pickup will be on Tuesday, the 26th. And leaf collection, that's ongoing. A lot of leaves are off the trees at this point. So originally it was scheduled to end just before Christmas, but we'll keep council informed of, or Scott will keep council informed of where they stand with that.
I think we're doing pretty good there. I've been around a little bit. I know that we have mostly 2 to 3 trucks out every day. We have another whole month to go before we are finished. It's just a matter of coming around, and it's like one more pass, but it takes forever to get that pass done because all the leaves are down. So I think they're doing a good job. I think they've been out there every day. They work weekend. So I think we should be close, if not right on. As long as the weather stays out good, stays dry. I know we might need rain, but we don't want to see no rain now, to be honest with you, because when the leaves are dry, it's much easier. So I think we're doing okay there from what I can see around town.
Yeah,
I know it might not look it, but we are.
Just a reminder that if you are putting leaves out, keep them away from the inlets if you can, as far away as you can, and put them up between the curb and the sidewalk if you can, rather than in the gutter line.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matisse. We'll jump over to Administrator's Report. Mr. Zuber and his fantastic winning Eagles, who can't be beaten. They go down by 10 points, they win.
Better record than Pittsburgh Steelers right now.
Go ahead, Frank,
We
I'm
have
sorry.
that's okay, thank you, Mayor. We have 3 items on the town clerk report. Number 1 is to approval to hire Juan Guzman as a police officer effective December 11th, 2023. Salary to follow current contract, and this is contingent upon all civil service rules and regulations. Second one is approval to hire Daniel Ramirez as a police officer effective December 11th also, 2023. Salary to follow current contract, contingent upon all civil service rules and regulations. And finally, number 3, approval to hire James Pinto as a Class 2 officer. This will be effective November 27th, 2023, 20 hours a week at $30 per hour. Approval is read.
So moved.
Gribbon first.
Second, Mayor.
Oliva second.
I just like to say, Mayor, we sat in on those officers, and I believe we're bringing back one retired person, very well officer that was from here for many years. But the 2 young gentlemen were very, they spoke well. I think we're hiring 2 very good men there.
And this will bring us up to 33 men and women in blue. The goal has always been 34. So compared to a lot of communities, we're very fortunate. Being 1 down is not short staff, so I think we have an excellent staff, and ranks are almost full. So we're very fortunate.
And we have I think on the most part, and the chief could talk about that, a young staff. And I think that's really important. We've come to where we have a lot of young men, a lot of very interested young men that want to be officers.
And women.
And women.
And women.
You're right, Chief, excuse me. You're right, and women, absolutely. And I think they're doing a very good job, I really do. From what I've seen and who we went after so far in the past 6 months, we were very lucky to be able to hire the staff that we're hiring, as far as women and men. Absolutely.
And both these officers are fluent in Spanish, too.
Yes, closely, yes.
That's the nice part. With these hires, we have a good amount of diversity on the staff.
Absolutely.
Which is nice to have.
I believe we'll have 1 per staff now, right? Per
Squad.
shift. Per shift, right? Yep, which is good.
All right,
That's
we
good in
have
the community.
Gribbon and Oliva. Any additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbon?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried.
Approval of bill list?
So moved.
Second.
Gribbon, Oliva, discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fajoni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried.
We have introduction of bond ordinance number 24 of 2023, and this is for the water tank painting and Lakeview Gardens water line design.
Motion from council, please.
Motion, Mayor.
Furgione, first.
Second.
Second, Woolerman. Discussion.
Well, didn't we just take the ordinance?
We did the
That was for the
resolution.
capital budget amendment. We have to amend our capital budget to include this, and then this is the actual ordinance.
Wasn't the design portion of this voted on during the engineer's report?
This is the funding source.
This is the funding source. Yeah, this is the actual ordinance. The other one was just approving the capital budget for it. That was a resolution. This is the ordinance.
Got it.
Additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fajoni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
And Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carried.
Introduction of ordinance 25 of 2023, and this is amending chapter 175-87C.
Need it first?
So moved.
Woolerman first.
It's amending 175-87. It's amending both C and F.
C and F.
C and F, okay.
Okay, we have a first in Woolerman. Do we have a second?
Second, Mayor.
Oliva, second. Discussion.
Mayor, what this is doing under C is that currently under C, the height of accessory building cannot exceed 1/2 of the principal structure. For those that have a rancher in town at a 16-foot height, it means that they can't install a pole barn, a shed, an accessory structure of any kind that's over 8 feet to the peak, and that's after it's put on top of a foundation or so, which is not feasible. So someone who wants to put on a 50 square foot, a 5 by 10 shed that wants to put their lawnmower in it, has to come to the planning board, spend a couple $1,000s, come to the planning board for something like that. So this is eliminating that requirement. It's taking that height to a 20-foot roof peak. So we'll have those individuals be able to move forward in their installations without having to go through the board for what feels a little egregious. The other item for under F, we currently have square footage limitations on accessory structure space, and it is just a number per zone. That it's just if you live in this zone, the maximum amount of accessory structure maximum. You'll see if you read through that it is, for R1 it is 4% of lot area or 700 square feet, whatever is less. So there is still a hard maximum at the top end, but it's given a little bit of flexibility to those that don't have it under the existing ordinance.
All right, thank you very much. Additional discussion.
Mayor, I wasn't a fan of this ordinance previous. I'm just not a fan of this whole getting a permit or going to zoning and planning for a temporary structure like a shed. That's just my opinion.
Well, right now, I think, contrary to that, without a standard, I mean, it's the Wild West.
Standard, I understand.
You need some kind of guidance and some kind of structure in your zoning in order to, to have some sort of orderly pattern to development. So I think this change is good.
I agree, Councilman Furgione. This wasn't just sheds we were talking about. We had people building structures that were half the size of their home.
Or more.
Quite larger than just a shed.
Yeah, and a permanent structure, obviously, requires zoning and or planning.
But where's the distinction?
Temporary shed's a shed you bring in on the back of someone's truck and drop it off.
Maybe there should be no limit on the number or size.
I'm okay with the number of the idea of a size limit, but not on the idea that you have to go get either a permit or go to zoning and planning to get a shed.
Well, you always had to get a permit for a shed.
Right.
Okay.
That was the code from way back when. All right, additional discussion. This actually gives more leniency to the resident, so we're trying to be more lenient and give them a little more rope, so to speak. Additional discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fajoni?
No.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carries.
Introduction of ordinance 26 of 2023, amending Chapter 175-117.
Motion first read, please.
Motion, Mayor.
Oliva first. Do I get a second?
Second.
Gribben second.
Mayor, this ordinance here, essentially what it does is that currently if someone has a lot that is non-conforming, meaning, let's just say the yard frontage is a little too small or the size of the lot is a little too small, that anytime they want to do something on that lot, like put an accessory structure out or add an addition to the building in some way, even if they comply with everything else that their neighbor does, just because their lot was a pre-existing or is non-conforming in some way, they have to come to the board and request a variance. That's an expensive and challenging process at times. So what this ordinance does is that so long as the accessory structure or addition that is looking to be proposed does not violate any of the requirements of any other requirements under the existing chapter of land use 175, height, setbacks, anything like that, that as long as that installation doesn't further create another pre-existing or another non-conformity, that the construction official would be able to issue a permit no differently than they typically would with a person who has a existing conforming lot. These ordinances exist in a number of other towns similar to Hammonton, and it just provides a little bit of flexibility to our construction department and code official as these options come up, and it alleviates some of the rubber stamp type items that come to the planning board. You know, these type applications, someone says, I want to put up an accessory structure that would typically comply. The board sits, they hear it for the 10 minutes, and then it's just a rubber stamp, largely approval, and someone spends a lot of money, and the board spends a lot of time considering those types of things. So council's putting this in front of everyone today, ultimately to alleviate that.
Okay, again, this is to adjust an ordinance and give the resident a little more free board or free room to maneuver or get what they need without spending a lot of money. Additional discussion from council.
So it's an improvement that could be made on the lot, which will not aggravate the nonconformity, and that complies with everything else within the zoning district that pertains to that improvement.
That is correct.
So I will second that.
I believe we had a first.
So do you have a second already?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, Tom, I'm sorry.
Additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilperson Virgioni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
R. Rodeo?
Yes.
S. Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carried.
Resolutions, we have Resolution 148 of 2023. This is setting council meeting dates for 2024. Resolution 149, authorize Lady Guadalupe procession. Resolution 150 is the 159 budget addition for Safe Routes to Schools. This is a grant for $385,049.46. Resolution 151 is also a 159 budget resolution. This is for DDEF fund for the police department, and this is a grant in the amount of $12,679.28. Resolution 152, various refunds. 153, tax water sewer refunds. 154, approval of grant application for Lake Park. This is for an amount of $200,000. Resolution number 155, approved budget transfers. Resolution 158, authorize agreement with NJDOT Route 30. And Resolution 159, this is waiving interest on a tax sale certificate. Approval is read.
Motion for all, please.
So moved.
Gribben first.
Second, Mayor.
Second, Oliva. Discussion.
I have a question about the waiving the interest on the tax sale certificate. My concern is, are we setting a precedence for other taxpayers? And are we going to have parameters on this? It kind of feels like we're opening up a rabbit hole.
Yep. So this is a property that was, it had contamination. It was formerly the Renzi property on Washington Street. It was I guess they had storage tanks for oil, so it was contaminated. The current owners, it was in an estate, they cleaned up the property, spent a ton of money to clean it up. I have no idea what, but it was in excess of 6 figures to clean it up and to get it back on the tax rolls. If they didn't do that, we have some properties in town that nobody is paying the taxes and nobody is buying the tax liens because they're contaminated and nobody wants to take a chance on losing their money or their investment if they're by the tax sale certificates. So this, in theory, makes us whole, gets our money back, gets the property cleaned up, puts it back on the tax rolls, hopefully down the road, maybe a house, whatever, depending on the zone. So I have no problem waiving the interest for those properties that were contaminated, that somebody invested in to clean them up. We take care of an eyesore. There was tanks on that property. They were removed. So we get the property cleaned up. We get the eyesore off the property. It improves the neighborhood for the residents. And with that kind of criteria, I have no problem approving this one and/or doing this again, in my opinion.
And Mayor, there is a standard that is being established, and that is that the extent of the remediation would leave no limitations on the use of the property, which is a pretty high standard. And that was the case in this instance, and that will be the case in any other instance that will occur going forward.
Yeah.
However, Mayor, I do think that if a property is in the same circumstance, they must use an LSRP. This isn't just willy-nilly go out there with a backhoe and dig a hole.
No, you have to use an LSRP
right
to get the letter that we need from the state. An LSRP, for those who don't know, is a licensed site remediation authority, agency? Professional. P. Yeah, well, duh. Wake up, Steve. So, and you have to get the approval from the state. The state signed off this LSRP's recommendations.
Not only that, but in addition to this, there were several things. One, there were 2 contaminated areas of concern on the property, related to underground storage tanks. It was not only remediated by an LSRP, and an unrestricted response action outcome was issued, which for everyone, that is now the equivalent of a no further action letter that the NJDEP used to issue when a site was cleaned. But in addition to that, the 3-year time period for the NJDEP to audit the RAO passed. So as far as the NJDEP is concerned, the remedial action taken by the LSRP and the property owner was protective of public health, safety, and the environment. So the fact that there was there were 6 figures spent in the remediation. There was the retention of an LSRP and an RAO was issued. The fact that the 3-year audit period had run, so we know that there's going to be no future remediation necessary for this site as a result of the NJDP not requiring any further remediation. And the fact that you're getting all your principal. Remember, you're getting all your real property taxes at the end of the day that throughout the years that would have been owed on this site. The only thing you're waiving is interest, because you can't waive the real property taxes. So we're getting all the real property taxes plus the redemption amount.
So you are getting your principal back?
You're not waiving any principal. You're waiving you're not waiving any principal.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You're waiving just the
You're
interest.
getting all your principal.
He said, yeah, we're getting it all back.
Yeah, we're getting all the principal.
All right. Additional discussion on any of the roll call, please.
Councilperson Pajoni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Barbarodio?
Yes.
Esrodio?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, with an abstention for 152. Motion carried.
And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Second of two opportunities for the public to be heard. Come talk to us.
Is this on?
Yes.
Yep, you're good.
I got to give you guys a lot of credit.
I'm sorry, you got to state your name and
Oh, sorry.
address. That's okay.
Sherry Coletta, 442 Elm Street, Hamilton. Oops. I got to give you guys a lot of credit. A lot of talking. Anyway, I just wish the airwaves in Little Italy were as clean as the water. There's a noise pollution problem emanating from several houses along 3rd Street near Fairview, which you have already heard about, because I text you all the time. Roughly in the Little Italy section in the vicinity of Inferreras. For many months, they have been blasting music for hours on end at a decibel level that makes my windows a block and a half away on Elm Street rattle. Neighbors routinely call the police. Theoretically, the police are then taken off of more important matters to play cat and mouse with the noisemakers. They blast music for hours and hours and hours the entire day into the evening. Then the police come and ask them nicely to turn it down. As soon as the police leave, the volume goes back up again and lather, rinse, repeat. They're making fools out of both the neighbors and the police. The police come, and since the noisemakers are technically within the bounds of the current ordinance, they cannot do anything of lasting effect because of the way the ordinance is written. My immediate neighbors, and by the way, I'm here because they're all really sick and old, and I'm like the healthiest and most retired. I got plenty of time. I'll be coming to a lot of meetings until this is resolved. You don't want that, you know. My immediate neighbors consist of a young mother with a newborn, a retired couple where the wife has advanced Parkinson's, her husband is her main caregiver, and he himself has severe cardiac issues, 2 older widows above age 60, one couple in their late 50s who babysit for their infant and several toddler grandchildren, a young couple with a toddler and one on the way, and then another young couple who run a business along Cottage and 3rd. And they're all, I talked to all of them in person. They have very young children also. In the immediate area, there are at least 3 small businesses who are being adversely affected. And lastly, if any one of us intended to put their house on the market and a potential buyer was touring the properties in the area, the asking price would plummet instantly. If the council does its due diligence to address this problem, it seems to me that potential lawsuits against the town could be avoided. Property values. I remind council once again that the police are very well acquainted with this problem, but their hands are tied because of the way the current noise ordinance is written. The continual police calls about noise on 3rd Street wastes the time and the energy of the residents, and even more importantly, it wastes valuable police time. They send out a cruiser or 2 with 2 officers. The officers ask the noisemakers nicely to turn it down, and then they do. And as soon as the police leave, up goes the volume. At times, the noise persists for most of the day and into the evening hours, right up to the moment where the current noise ordinance specifies the loud noise must end. This is a stupid, childish game, and it must be stopped for the sake of the residents and the Hammonton Police Force. They have much better things to do with their time and vehicles than chase people who can't turn down their party music. As you can see, I'm rather exercised about it. This is horrible. This is a terrible use of our law enforcement resources and needs to be addressed immediately. I have researched municipal noise ordinances and have located one that we may wish to use as a model. It's from Bridgewater, New Jersey, which is a comfortable municipality in central Jersey in Somerset County. They have an extensive, detailed ordinance with categories for construction and, work that's kind of temporary, that's necessary work, as opposed to party music, and things that are not necessary. They have made allowances for short-term construction and business-related sounds. In conclusion, as residents of Hammonton, we are requesting that the current noise ordinance be completely revised to address the needs of our citizens and to protect and respect the limited resources of the Hammonton Police Department. What I would like to see happen is a task force and a committee be appointed to study the problem. Look at the bridge. I have a couple of, there's a lot more pages. I have a couple of pages. If I can send you the link through email or something, it's really good. It covers every base, every base. So that's what I'm asking for you guys to
All right, what we'll do.
appoint a committee.
What we'll do is put this in, we already have law and order.
Okay.
We'll sit down with the chief, and the committee will talk to the chief, and we'll see what we can do to adjust it. We'll take your concerns into consideration, and see what we can do, see where we go.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank
And
you
guys,
very
great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public like to be heard? Okay, seeing no one, we have to go in closed session for about 15 minutes. We will be coming out and open back up to the public, not to take action, but to close the meeting out. We have to do that legally. So we're going to recess for about 15, 20 minutes and go into closed. And then we'll come back out and and close down the meeting, but no action will be taken tonight, additional. With that, can I get a motion to enter in closed session?
I'll make that motion.
R. Rodeo, Bullerman second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're now in closed. Thank you. We're shutting off the TV and the mics, Hammonton, and we'll come back in about 15 minutes. Good evening, Hamilton. We're back in open session. It's 9:20. Is there anything else for council for the good of the order?
No.
We're rolling now, okay.
Yeah.
I'll start over. Good evening, Hamilton. It's 9:20. We're now back in open session after having 20, 25 minutes in closed. Anything else for council for the good of the order?
No.
Seeing nothing, I'd accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second, Mayor.
Griffin, Oliva, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night. Thank you, Hamilton.